Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargav, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In this episode, we talk about how donations have been dwindling at the farmers' protests ever since the Republic Day violence. We also talk about the Koo App, which is a homegrown version of Twitter. But first, we talk about the Uttarakhand disaster. It has now been 4 days since flash floods struck the Chamoli district of Uttarakhand. Since then, 34 bodies have been recovered in the region and over 170 people still remain missing. The rescue operations in the meantime are still underway, even though the hope of finding survivors continues to diminish. In this segment, we talk to Mallica Joshi, who has been reporting on the disaster, about the challenges that rescuers are facing and the damage that the floods have caused to the region. Mallica, it has been more than 3 days since the flash floods took place in Chamoli. You have been there on the ground reporting on the story. Could you talk about the rescue efforts that are currently underway and what exactly they are centered around right now?
So right now, all rescue efforts are centered around the tunnel, which is part of the NTPC power plant at Tapovan, which is a few kilometers away from Joshimath. That's the biggest town nearby. So at Tapovan, around 30 to 55 people are, believed to be stuck inside a tunnel. And there have been several efforts over the past few days since Sunday to get access to the tunnel and to try and rescue these people. There are teams from the NDRF, from the State Disaster Management Team. Then there are ITBP personnel here, police personnel. So there are several teams of trained professionals who are present at the spot. But the biggest challenge is that they still don't have complete access to the tunnel. This is because when the flash floods came, a lot of sludge flowed into the tunnels, which has blocked access. The experts believe that around 180 meters, and they have plans for this now that were provided by the company that is running the project, that 180 meters into the tunnel, there's a T-point. And on either side of this is where they expect the people to be stuck. They are hoping that there's an air pocket somewhere that would keep these people alive. But there has so far been no contact with anyone. And the biggest challenge is that JCB machines have been going in to pick up the sludge and throw it out. But more keeps flowing out from the back. So there is still no access to the tunnel.
And what kind of physical challenges do rescuers themselves face when conducting this operation?
So the good thing here is that there is accessibility till the tunnel is very good. There's a road and it's a decent enough road. Even after the flooding, the road was not completely washed away. It is still intact. It was covered in sludge, but that they maneuvered around and they've used a lot of rubble and a lot of wooden planks to, sort of ensure that they can walk to the tunnel. So that is the one good thing. And also the weather since Sunday has been good. There's been no rain. So those sort of physical challenges have not hampered the process so far.
So considering, that it has been more than 3 days, what do the rescuers say about the chances that those who are missing have at this point?
So officials say that the chances are slim, but that does not mean that they're giving up. An NDRF official who we were speaking to spoke about how when he was in Nepal as part of a search and rescue operation, they were able to save a woman over 50 hours after the disaster struck. So he was just trying to basically tell us how there's still hope for people who might be stuck. That said, the situation in this case is obviously different because there's so much sludge inside the tunnels that they are just not being able to make their way through.
And you've also been speaking to the families of those who have been missing. What has this time been like for them?
For the families, it's a very, very difficult and a very trying situation. And a lot of them have reached on Monday, and the others started reaching on Tuesday, and some came on Wednesday as well. But they do realize that it's been such a long time without any contact with the people who are fear trapped. It's a very difficult situation for them because there are no bodies and there's no communication and they have no idea what they should think about the situation. They've obviously been talking to the rescuers, but there's not much that they can tell them either.
And also, due to this flash flood, a key bridge in the area was destroyed. Could you talk about the kind of problems that has led to, for the people who live in the area?
13 villages have been cut off completely or by road because of the floods. Two bridges have actually been washed away. One is near the Reni village and the other is near Tapovan. Both of these were suspension bridges that were washed away, which basically means that now these people living in these villages have no way of, coming towards this side, especially in case of medical emergencies. In some cases, there is no electricity in a couple of villages. So teams are from the army and ITBP, they've all been providing as much help as they can. Material is being sent regularly through helicopters. And according to state disaster officers, there is no village where they have not been able to, provide any material at all so far. They have also been able to set up a zip line. So there are two villages. One is Reni and the other is called Reni Palli. These are across from each other and these are the two that were connected directly through the bridge. Reni is still connected to Joshi Math and the rest of the area, while Reni Palli and the other 12 villages are cut off. So that zip line has now been functional between the two villages, and they can send things like milk, biscuits, small, if there's some medicines that someone needs, those are the sort of things that they're being able to send through the zip line. Similarly, at Tapovan also, a zip line has been set up for the same purpose.
And so what attempts are we seeing to rebuild the bridges that were destroyed, or maybe, efforts to connect villages that have been disconnected?
One of the challenges that, the teams are going to face now is bad weather. As of Wednesday, it's completely overcast and it started raining. And ITBP officials said that the forecast is for moderate rain in the region for the next 2 days, which would be Thursday and Friday. This is going to make rescue and search operations tougher because if it starts raining again, the sludge is going to be formed again. So far, they've been able to clear a lot of it and it has already started to dry out. But if it rains and it's heavy rains, all of that will come back and will make things tougher for the rescue personnel again.
Also, what do we know about the kind of challenges that the rescuers will face going forward now?
So at Reni village, where the Rishiganga power plant was located, that has been completely destroyed now. This is where the BRO is working towards rebuilding a connection between the villages that have been cut off and the rest of the region. As a result, NDRF is not looking for bodies as actively as they were till last evening. The priority now over there is to reestablish road connectivity between the cut-off villages and the rest of the area, which means that families who were waiting for the bodies of their kin are very, very disappointed. And it has led to a few flashpoints between officials at the site and relatives as well. NDRF teams, however, they have assured the families that they will continue to look for the bodies, but BRO's work to reestablish road connections will continue side by side.
And next, we talk about the farmers' protests. It has now been over 2 months since farmers have been protesting at the Delhi borders because they want the new farm laws repealed. Over this time, thousands have continued to join the protests, and the movement has continued to grow. But since the past few weeks, things have changed at some of these protest sites, particularly at Singhu, which is the largest of the protest sites. There, numbers have dipped, donations have dwindled, and a number of food stalls have also closed. This has happened after the massive tractor rally that took place on the Republic Day, during which things turned violent and some protesters clashed with the Delhi police. In this segment, our producer Snigdha Sharma talks to Jignasa Sinha, who has been reporting on the protests about this change and the role of women protesters during this time. Here's Snigdha and Jignasa.
So, Jignasa, since you've been reporting on the farmers' protests for a while, you've been visiting the protest sites, over the last 2 months. Since the 26th of January, how has the protest changed?
Well, since the 26th, a lot of things have changed at Singhu. The other two protest sites, Tikri and Ghazipur, they continue to remain the same, but at Singhu, you can see these changes, like a lot of farmers have left. You'll see few number of tractors now. Also, a lot of the langar stalls which are initially there, they've been closed now. Food stalls, and they had parlor langar and massage langar seva, and that is closed now. One more thing which one can see is there are less people and there are less rallies now around the protest site. Earlier, there were a lot of rallies around the Singhu border. The security was beefed up because of this. But now even the police have withdrawn a larger part of their force from the site now.
Okay, so after 26, there was we saw heavy security deployment, and we saw those huge barricades and wires being put. So now the security personnel have left, most of them.
Yeah, I mean, you'll still see the nails embedded on the road, those wires, barricading, everything is there, but the police has withdrawn a large part of their personnel from the spot. The Delhi Police Commissioner, S.N. Srivastav, has now asked a lot of police personnel to go back to their districts and, continue with their duty.
So, your latest report that was published in the newspaper today was from the protest site about how donations are dwindling, right? But women farmers from Punjab, they've come and they're hoping to revive the site. So, I'd like to ask you, what has the role of women been like in this protest? And if you can just tell us about women farmers who have come down from Punjab to Singhu.
Well, initially, men were the only ones who participated at Singhu. There were only a few women who participated in the Langar Seva and were part of these small rallies. But after 26th, more women joining the protest. There are hundreds of women who are coming from Jalandhar and Navanshahar every day. And they are coming here to support their families. Like I spoke to a 50-year-old sugarcane farmer from Jalandhar. She told me she's upset with the way the center has been trying to discredit the movement. She heard Prime Minister Modi's speech at the parliament and the reaction from the police and the government after the violence. And that's just been upsetting for these farmers. And now the women want to come here and they want to sit with men. They want to stay at the border. And they said they're not going to be here for a day or two, but they're going to stay here for weeks. Earlier, a lot of women didn't come here because they were the ones who were taking care of the farms back at the villages. But now they want to come here, they want to protest. A lot of them have requested their neighbors to take care of their farms while they're here with their children.
So, since we were talking about dwindling donations, Jignasa, if you can tell us about what are the main sources of donations and why are they falling after whatever happened on the 26th?
Well, the farmer organizations at the border claim that they receive major donations from farmers, businessmen, a few political leaders, and other protesters. That's what they say their donations come from. And there were times before the 26th where they would receive donations like rupees 10 lakh a day or even more. Now it has come down to just 1 lakh per day because post Republic Day violence, a lot of volunteers have stopped coming to the protest site. Even locals have stopped coming to the protest site. A lot of these locals were donors and now they don't pay anymore. I guess one of the reasons which we got from the farmer leaders is that people have withdrawn, support from the movement and they don't want to, associate themselves with the movement now. But there are women who are coming in. They know the issues. They know that there are a lot of people there. And each of these langar sevas, they need donations. So they are trying to help the protesters.
In your report, you mentioned how you spoke to Harbans Singh, an 84-year-old man, and he said that his family had brought water cans weighing 80 quintals from their village, and there was somebody else who brought like quintals of flour and distributed it amongst the different langars at the sites. If you can tell us a little bit about how these langars function.
So most of the langars get donations from Gurudwara committees and farmers. I guess there are more than 8 langar sevas as of now. And every day there are farmers who travel to and from Singhu to get vegetables, flour, oil, water, drinking, everything. They get it from other farmers. That's what we have been told by the organizations and Langar Sevas, that they go to these villages in Punjab and Haryana every day to get groceries. Like there are farmers who pitch in every day. But obviously, these donations have dipped since 26 January, and farmers want more donations to come in. So women are coming from villages now. I spoke to a woman from Jalandhar. She told me that they bought 50 quintals of flour and they're giving like 2 quintals each to a langar. And like you said, Harman Singh, he said that he and his family have been bringing 80 quintals of drinking water since November, and they've been like giving it at the protest site to the protesters for cooking and other purposes.
How do they manage bringing such large quantities of food and water? Just the logistics, if you can talk about that a little bit.
Well, for the farmers in Delhi, it's not possible to travel from Delhi to Singhu now. Most of the roads are blocked. There are only a few alternate routes they can use. But for farmers from Punjab and Haryana, they can come from GT Road, and there are other roads from Panipat. And what we have seen is that there are almost 100 to 200 tractors which keep on coming every day. Women bring groceries with them in trolleys and trucks. They themselves come in those trucks, and they come with their families. Everybody's carrying 2 to 3 bags of oil or salt or spices. So that's how this thing goes.
Jignasa, there was another report that you did 2 days ago about farmers from Karnataka coming in to join the protest, right? They also attended the Kisan Mahapanchayat in Uttar Pradesh earlier, and it's a bunch of 50 farmers. But before this, you also mentioned that the number of protesters at the sites are decreasing day by day, and support is also dwindling. What does this mean, this support from farmers from other states to the protest?
The support is dwindling at Singhu, but not really at Ghazipur. At Ghazipur border, it's because of farmer leader Rakesh Tiket. A lot of farmers from different states are coming in every day. There are farmers there from Punjab, Haryana, UP. You might think that, because it's Ghazipur border, there'll only be a handful of UP farmers, but no, there are farmers from different organizations that are coming in, from Mazdoor Kisan Union, from Bharti Kisan Union. And these are the farmers who have now pledged their allegiance to Tiket. And even the Karnataka farmers, like you spoke about, they've only come here to support Tiket, meet him, and show that they're here with him and against the farm laws. And at Ghazipur border, that's what's happening right now. There are farmers who are coming in every day. And although there are a limited number of langar stalls there, the donations are coming in every day. So that's not a problem for them as of now.
And in the end, we talk about the Koo app. Right now, there is a bit of a spat, a kerfuffle going on between the central government and the microblogging platform Twitter. This is because the center has been pushing Twitter to block certain accounts that it sees as Khalistan sympathizers or backed by Pakistan. And while this is going on, several ministers and departments of the union government have started to flock on an app called Koo, which is a homemade version of Twitter. In this segment, we talk to Pranav Mukul, who writes about technology, about this app. So, Pranav, could you first talk about who developed this app?
So there are two entrepreneurs, Apramay Radhakrishnan and Mayank Bidwataka. So Apramay is the guy who had founded Taxi for Sure. If you remember, there used to be an online cab booking company called Taxi for Sure, which eventually got acquired by Ola Cabs. So Apramay is the person behind that. And both of these guys, in fact, they also developed something called Vocal with a K, which was sort of an Indian version of Quora, a question and answer website. And the USP of Vocal was that, the Q&A part of it was available in Indian languages other than Hindi and English as well. So these are the guys who've developed the Koo app as well. They participated in the government's Atmanirbhar App Innovation Challenge last year and emerged as one of the winners in the competition.
Okay, so this app is being talked about a lot right now. Like, how has it managed to gain this prominence?
So essentially, after it had won the Atmanirbhar App Challenge, it got some traction. The IT minister joined it at that point in time. There were some members of parliament who had joined, some cricketers, some other politicians who had joined the app at that point in time. And it was also mentioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his Mann Ki Baat address. But what we've seen over the last 1 month is that nearly half of the downloads that the Koo app has today have come in the last 30 to 40 days. And this has mainly been because of there being a very specific push from certain quarters in the government. We've seen just in the last couple of days, Union Minister Piyush Goyal joining it, a clutch of government departments, Niti Aayog, IT Ministry, India Post, all of them joining the platform. And it's basically being pegged as an alternative to what Twitter is. So Koo is essentially a microblogging website like Twitter, and that's what they had been going for. But now they've suddenly emerged into this really popular platform, particularly given the push that it's getting from all these ministers and politicians joining it.
And how much do you think these government officials and some famous personalities like Anil Kumble joining this app will actually help it grow?
So we can't really say what happens going ahead from here, but so far what has happened is, what I just said, all these, film personalities and politicians promoting it is what has led to the surge in downloads for the apps over the last 30, 40 days. But, also the timing is very interesting given that the union government is right now embroiled in a spat with Twitter over the government asking it to block certain accounts, given that they had been allegedly spreading misinformation and inciting violence, and Twitter, on the other hand, taking a stance to not originally block these accounts. It has slightly changed its stance now, but still there's this ongoing tussle that's happening between the government and Twitter. And so the timing of this, Indian alternative platform coming up is also quite interesting and is being talked about.
And, talking about homegrown apps like these, last year when the government had banned a number of apps with Chinese links, that time we had seen, apps like Chingari and Soho. They had emerged as an alternative to TikTok. Do we know how those apps are doing now?
So essentially, the main difference so far between Koo and those other apps, which were alternatives to the apps that were banned, is that those Chinese apps or those apps with Chinese links were banned completely, and users had nowhere to go but to these alternatives. As we speak, Twitter is still operational in India, and while Koo is there as an alternative, the original platform is still there. But what happened with the earlier round of these Indian apps mushrooming is that TikTok got completely banned overnight, and so there was this large chunk of users that had to go somewhere or the other. And in that process, a number of these short video social media apps, they really picked up. There was Chingari, then there was something called MX Player, Takatak, and the number of these apps that they found some traction in these users which were earlier on TikTok.
You were listening to Three Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargav, and as always was edited and mixed by our producer, Joshua Thomas. If you like this show, then you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.